this is what we're doing today. This is just a review sheet or practice sheet for solving equations. You're going to need this sheet, something to write with, and I would recommend some loose leaf paper to write your equations down on. If Ms. Strange needs to pause, she can pause now so you guys can get this stuff out. All right, so to start off with, I would go ahead and shade in the begin square because that's where we're starting. Then you come to a big square. This is your question. You need to solve this equation, and whichever answer you get is the path you want to take. So let's say the answer is, let's go to the right. So we get -8. So we want to shade this in. Then we'll shade in the -8, and we'll go to the next little island here and solve this equation. That's going to give us one of two answers, hopefully. And now if we don't get one of these, then you know you need to go back and rework it because you did something wrong. And then say it's 4, we're going to shade that in and then shade in the x equals 4. So that's our path so far. So the idea is we're going to have a shaded path to get us to the end. I can go ahead and guarantee you we ain't going straight across. Okay, so on your paper, write your first equation. Now if you can see, I folded my paper in half. That gives me 2 columns. That just allows me to write more questions on one page. If we want to do that, go ahead and do that. So write your equation. 3x minus 7 equals 17. Draw your line through your equal sign, and we'll go ahead and get ready to solve this equation. All right, and you can pause this video at any time if I'm going too fast. Kids need to catch up. All right, so we want to solve this equation by getting x by itself. We have to figure out what number this x is. Do not use guess and check. So don't try to reason out what the x should be by plugging a number in, then multiplying by 3, and then subtracting 7 until you get to 17. Now that method will work sometimes, but I need you guys to be really good at using the inverse or the opposite operation to solve these, because after this week our equations get way more difficult, and that's going to not doing it this way will waste so much of your time. All right, so we want to get x by itself. This is grouped together, so we want to get rid of what's by itself first. So the opposite of a -7 is a +7. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. -7 and +7 will cancel out. That's the whole idea of doing this. And we're left with 3x. On the left-hand side equals 17 plus 7. That's going to be 24. Okay, so 3x equals 24. Now we want to get rid of the 3. That's x times 3. So we want to do the opposite of what we see. So we see times 3. So we want to divide, use the fraction bar for divide by 3 on both sides. I would do the same thing every single step. Do the opposite on both sides. Do the opposite on both sides. 3 divided by 3 will cancel out. That is 1x, and the 1 is there whether you write it or not, so you can be lazy and not write it, equals 24 divided by 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So we got our answer. So +8 on our sheet. We're going to shade in our question. We're just going to draw some lines. And 8, we have x equals -8. We're doing x equals +8, so we're going to go this way. Okay, so we're going to get to our next equation. Is -3x minus 5 equals 10. So on our paper, go ahead and write down the next equation. -3x minus 5 equals 10. Draw your line. Okay, so we want to do the same thing. We have a variable. We want to get the variable by itself so we can see what number it is. So we have to get rid of either the -3 and the -5. Now this is grouped together, so we want to get rid of the thing by itself first. The opposite of a -5 is +5. We want to do the opposite on both sides every single time. Opposites will cancel out. So draw a line through those and bring down your -3x. Equals, and then 10 plus 5 is 15. So -3x equals 15. So x and -3 are connected by multiplication. That's x times negative 3. The opposite of times negative 3 is to divide. So we're going to divide. Now this is the first time I think we're getting rid of a negative number like this, so we got to be careful. We're doing the opposite operation. So the opposite of times is to divide, but we're trying to get rid of a negative 3, so we want to use a negative 3. Up here, we're trying to get rid of a positive 3, so we used a positive 3. Trying to get rid of a negative, so we're going to use a negative. I'm going to show you why. Now, we don't want to end up with a negative x, so we want to cancel out our negatives. A negative divided by a negative is positive, and we want to cancel out our 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Okay, so we got to make sure we do it on both sides before we move on. Divide both sides by negative 3. So we just our x equals 15 divided by negative 3. Positive divided by negative is negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So you just got to be careful at this step when you're getting rid of a times or a division of a negative number. You're trying to get rid of the negative too. So you want to use a negative because a negative divided by negative will make a positive. We don't want to end up with a negative x and give us another step of work. All right, so we got negative 5. So we did this equation, and we got 5/3 and negative 5. So we're going to shade in the negative 5 box and move on to our next equation. Now this one has a fraction in it, but don't worry. It's not so bad. 2/3 x minus 7 equals 11. We're doing the exact same thing, even if we have fractions. So here it's going to, if you were guessing and checking, your life is about to get a whole lot harder. So stop guessing and checking. You want to use inverse operations. So we want to draw our line through the equal sign and solve this equation. We want to get rid of the thing. This is a group together, so get rid of the thing by itself. We're going to do the opposite on both sides. The opposite of a negative 7 is a positive 7. So those will cancel out. We still have 2/3 x equals 11 plus 7, which is 18. Okay, so let me move this up a little bit. Okay, so 2/3 x equals 18. Now what we want to do is, this is connected by multiplication. So we want to divide. See that? I used the symbol I said we're never going to use again. We're going to divide by 2/3. Okay, if you remember in 6th grade, when you have to divide by a fraction, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/3 is just flipping that to be 3 at the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom, not the positive and negative. We're just flipping this upside down here, 3/2. Okay, because dividing by a fraction is a little bit harder to do. It's possible though. So we're going to multiply by 3/2 on both sides. So that 6th grade skill came in handy. All right, so we can do this a couple different ways. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 3 times 2, 6 will give us 1. Or we can just cancel out. 3 cancels out the 3. 2 cancels out the 2. So all we have left over is x. So we got rid of the whole fraction. Now, the 18, that's the same thing as 18/1 times 3/2. Now we can do 18 times 3 and then divide that by 2 because the fraction bar means divide. Or we can just simplify. 2 will go into 18 9 times. So we can cancel out the 2 and that 18 becomes a 9. Then we have 9 times 3 is 27. And we're done. I know that's a tough one, but you got it as an example. So we did 2/3. We got x equals 27. There's x equals 27. And now let's do this last one. On this side, 2x plus 3. And no, you're not going to do every single problem on here. It's not going to go down the row, then up the row, then down the row. You're going to skip some of these. You just got to take the correct path because there's only one right answer. All right, 2x plus 3 equals 11. So set up your equation and draw your line for the two different halves. And we'll do the same thing. Get x by itself, get the variable alone by doing the opposite on both sides. This is grouped together, so we'll get rid of the plus 3 first. The opposite of plus 3 is minus 3. We're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Positive 3 and negative 3 cancel out. So all we got left is 2x on the left-hand side. So we're just going to bring what we have left over onto a fresh new line. 11 minus 3. We have a positive 11 and a negative 3. We have more positives, so our answer is positive. We have 8 more positives, so 2x equals 8. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going back to doing the opposite on both sides. The opposite of x times 2 is x divided by 2 on both sides. And now notice we're not changing the sign. We're using the same number we're trying to get rid of because a positive divided by positive is still just positive. And those will cancel out and be 1. So 1x is going to be equal to 4. So x equals 4. Oh, you know what? I don't know if you guys may have already seen this. There is only one possible answer for this question. So x equals 4. And now we're on to the next question. So I'm going to stop this video. So if you feel very comfortable with this, well, I'll leave it up to Miss Strange so she can tell what's going on in the class. The next slide, I will continue going through all these questions. So if Miss Strange sees you guys are doing good, you can work your way to the end and then watch the videos to make sure you did your work correctly, specifically making sure that you used opposite operations in every step, and you can follow along and make sure you do the same thing. Or you can do it one at a time and just pause for each one. So you can start the question, and then after you guys have finished it, you can watch to make sure you got the correct answer. So it'll be up to Miss Strange and how you guys are doing. So, all right, good luck.